She won't tell you she's testing you, but everything she asks has a hidden meaning. And if you answer without awareness, you don't just fail the test, you disappear from her mind. There's a reason some women feel drawn to older men. It's not just age, it's not just experience, it's something deeper, something psychological. It's the expectation of emotional stability. When a woman craves an older man, what she's really craving is certainty in a world full of unpredictability. She's looking for someone who doesn't react impulsively, who doesn't get shaken easily, who understands emotions without being controlled by them. But here's the part most men miss. She doesn't trust that immediately. She tests it, not directly, but through simple questions that seem harmless on the surface, yet carry weight underneath. Because words, for her, are never just words. They are signals, clues, windows into who you really are. And the first thing she's trying to understand is this: are you grounded, or are you just pretending to be? So she asks questions that seem casual. What are you looking for right now? Do you usually take things seriously, or just go with the flow? On the surface, these sound like normal conversation. But beneath that, she's watching how you respond emotionally. Do you get nervous? Do you over-explain? Do you try too hard to impress? Or do you answer calmly, without pressure, without needing approval? Because an older man she respects doesn't rush to prove himself. He doesn't try to say the right thing. He says what's real and stands on it. That's what she's measuring. Not your answer, your state. And this is where most men lose without even realizing it. They think they're being tested on logic, but they're being felt on energy. If your response carries insecurity, hesitation, or a need to be liked, she senses it instantly, not consciously, but emotionally. And once that feeling is triggered, attraction begins to fade. Because now, instead of seeing stability, she sees uncertainty. But when your response is grounded, simple, and unapologetic, something shifts. She feels it, not in your words, but in your presence. And that feeling creates curiosity, because now you're not reacting to her, you're simply expressing yourself. And that's rare. Now here's where it gets deeper. She's not just testing your confidence, she's testing your direction. An older man she's drawn to isn't drifting through life. He knows what he wants, he has clarity. Even if his life isn't perfect, his mindset is structured. So when she asks about your plans, your goals, your lifestyle, she's not looking for perfection. She's looking for intention. Are you moving with purpose, or are you just moving? Because purpose creates attraction. It signals leadership, not over her, but over your own life. And a man who leads himself well naturally becomes someone she respects. So understand this clearly. When she asks simple questions, she's not making conversation. She's quietly deciding how she feels about you. And the moment you start answering from a place of pressure instead of truth, you've already said more than you think. Then comes the second test. And this is the one that quietly decides whether she leans closer or emotionally pulls away. It won't sound intense, it won't feel like a challenge. In fact, it often comes disguised as something playful, even light. She might say something like, "You seem very confident. Are you always like that?" Or, "I feel like you probably get a lot of attention. How do you handle that?" Now listen carefully. She's not asking for information. She's measuring your relationship with yourself. Because confidence to her is not what you say about yourself. It's how you respond when your identity is being observed. Most men fail right here. They either downplay themselves to seem humble or exaggerate to seem impressive. But both responses come from the same place: insecurity. And insecurity, no matter how well hidden, breaks the image she's trying to believe in. Because when a woman is drawn to an older man, she expects emotional consistency. She expects someone who doesn't shift under pressure, someone who doesn't need validation, but also doesn't reject it awkwardly. So when she throws these subtle observations at you, she's watching one thing. Do you remain the same person, or do you adjust to be liked? If you change even slightly, she feels it. And that feeling creates distance. Not because she's judging you harshly, but because the image of stability starts to crack. But when you respond with calm awareness, without overthinking, without trying to manage her perception, something powerful happens. You pass the test without trying. Because your response reflects inner alignment. You're not trying to prove confidence. You're simply being it. And that's what she's searching for. Now here's where it becomes even more subtle. Sometimes she won't ask directly. She'll challenge you indirectly. A small disagreement, a teasing comment, a moment where she slightly questions your opinion or perspective. And in that moment, she's not trying to create conflict. She's observing your emotional control. Do you get defensive? Do you try to win the argument? Do you become reactive? Or do you stay composed, grounded, and unshaken? Because an older man she respects doesn't feel the need to win. He understands, he listens. But he doesn't lose himself just to keep harmony. And that balance is rare. It shows strength without aggression, confidence without ego. And when she feels that something inside her relaxes, because now she knows you're not fragile. You don't break under pressure. You don't chase approval. You remain steady. And steadiness to her is safety. Not the boring kind, but the kind that allows her to open emotionally without fear of instability. Now think about this carefully. These questions, these moments, they're not random, they're intentional. Even if she's not fully aware of it herself. They come from instinct, from a deeper need to feel secure with someone who appears strong. And every response you give is either reinforcing that image or slowly dissolving it. So the real question isn't what she's asking you. The real question is, who are you being when she asks it? Because that answer is what she feels the most. Here's the part most men never notice. Passing her tests isn't about clever words or smooth lines. It's about energy, presence, and subtle psychology. Women who are drawn to older men aren't looking for performance. They're looking for authenticity, wrapped in calm confidence. Every question she asks, every playful tease, every glance she gives, it all carries a hidden metric. She's measuring your stability, your self-mastery, and your ability to remain grounded when she's probing. And the deeper truth is this: the more you stay unshakable, the more she leans in. The more you react, the more she hesitates. Think about it like this. She's scanning for a man who can hold himself together when life is messy, when emotions are unpredictable, when her own energy shifts. That's what an older man represents in her mind. Not necessarily experience, not necessarily money, not necessarily status. He represents control. He represents maturity. He represents someone whose presence feels like a foundation she can rely on emotionally. Now, most men misread the signals. They think attraction is about effort, trying to impress, trying to entertain, trying to show her they're worthy. But worthiness isn't earned by effort in this dynamic. It's revealed by composure. It's revealed by the way you respond under subtle pressure, by the way you navigate her questions without collapsing into insecurity or arrogance. That's magnetic. That's irresistible. The next layer is emotional intelligence. She isn't just evaluating what you say. She's evaluating what your words and actions say about your awareness of yourself and others. When you answer calmly, but perceptively, you signal that you understand not only yourself, but also the dynamic unfolding between you two. That's rare, and rarity is a psychological magnet. Then comes patience. She tests older men because she wants assurance that desire, attention, and connection are earned gradually, not forced. The longer you can stay consistent, grounded, and real while she tests the boundaries of your energy, the stronger her attachment becomes. She's watching for patterns. Patterns reveal truth, and the truth about a man is always in his habits, not his words. Here's what most men never grasp. Attraction isn't just sparked by confidence, it's sustained by consistency. Every question she asks is a small probe into your character. Every reaction, every pause, every slight shift in tone communicates information about who you are at your core. That's why older men who succeed aren't those with flashy lifestyles or clever tricks. They're the ones who embody presence and stability naturally, without trying to prove anything. And that presence creates tension, the good kind. The kind that makes her curious. The kind that draws her in. Because when a man doesn't react impulsively, when he stays composed under small tests, he generates a subtle pull. She wants to see more. She wants to understand him. She wants to earn his attention and respect. And that's exactly what she's testing for with her questions. Now, consider this carefully. Every time you feel nervous or over-explain in response, you're weakening that pull. But when you respond calmly, authentically, and without desperation, you amplify it. You become the kind of man she can't stop thinking about. The kind of man who naturally draws her in without needing to chase, pressure, or manipulate. Ask yourself, are you being grounded and consistent, or are you giving away your power with reactive answers and nervous energy? The difference determines whether she leans in or walks away. And finally, here's the ultimate truth most men never grasp. She isn't testing you to trap you or play games. She's testing you to see if you're someone worth her emotional investment, someone who can hold himself and, by extension, hold her energy safely. That's what older men represent: stability in a chaotic world, calm in the face of unpredictability, and authority over their own emotions. When she asks those two key questions, she's not evaluating facts. She's evaluating your presence. She's feeling your internal state. Is it steady? Is it secure? Or is it reactive, needy, unsure? Because her subconscious knows a man who cannot manage himself will eventually destabilize her world too. And she isn't risking that unless she senses true inner strength. Here's where most men fail completely. They focus on trying to answer correctly instead of being internally grounded. They think charm, humor, or logic will win her over. But psychology proves the opposite. Words are secondary. Energy is primary. How you show up matters more than anything you say. Calm presence, consistent composure, and authentic confidence override everything else. Now, notice this. She wants to test your boundaries, not to fight you, but to feel safe exploring her own vulnerability. The questions she asks are mirrors. They reflect back the energy you carry. If you pass them, she feels secure enough to lean in. If you fail them, she withdraws, even subtly, and the connection begins to fade. That's why older men naturally draw women. They project an energy that signals, without words, I can be trusted. I am stable. You can explore closeness safely. But passing these tests isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. Your responses don't need to impress. They need to reflect who you truly are. A man who owns his life, his emotions, and his presence. That alignment creates intrigue. That intrigue creates attraction. That attraction leads to desire. And desire leads to commitment on her terms, not yours. The real lesson here: women are instinctively drawn to men who are emotionally steady, self-aware, and intentionally alive. Older men exemplify these traits naturally. Younger men can cultivate them, but it requires mastery over impulsive reactions, over-validation, and overexposure. When a woman senses this mastery in you, she begins leaning in even before she consciously realizes why. So the final question is simple, but brutally honest. When she asks those subtle questions, who are you being in that moment? Are you reacting, adjusting, and chasing approval? Or are you grounded, authentic, and composed, showing her the steady energy she subconsciously craves? Write your answer in the comments. If this shifted your understanding of female psychology, like the video, subscribe for more insights that reveal what women really feel, and share it with a friend who needs to understand the subtle truths behind attraction.